Good day, everyone. I am Nice, and today I will be discussing with you towards sustainable world. And for that, I will introduce my group members, and these are Mr. Carza, Mrs. Swako, and lastly, Miss Panieres. Now, let me read first the learning outcomes in the next slide. We have four learning outcomes. First, to differentiate stability from sustainability. Second, articulate models of global sustainable development. Define global food security. And lastly, to critique existing models of global food security. Alright, so let's start. Sustainable development. What is sustainable development? According to our research, according to module that we have read, okay, in the screen, let's read, refers to the organizing principle for meeting human development goals while at the same time sustaining the ability of natural systems to provide the natural resources and ecosystem services upon which the economy and society depends. So for us to understand further, let me read this one with you. Sustainable development has been defined in many ways, but most frequently quoted definition is from our Common Future, also known as the Broadland Report. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Bali ka ng ang sustainable development is kanang i-meet gihapon ang kinahanglan sa tao, like sa everyday nga kinahanglan. And we all know that pinaka-primary jud nato nga needs everyday is kanid yung mga food, di ba? Food, the energy from the sun, the air, mga mga basic nga mga natural resources, no? Mga natural nga mga kinahanglan sa tao. So dapat siya nga i-preserve, i-sustain, no? Aron nya without compromising. Kay para for the next generations, kay need man gihapon na siya sa mga tao every day. So, kailangan nga masustinan ang mga panginahanglan ana. So, let me read this. The desired result for sustainable development is continually meet human needs. No? Continually gihapon without undermining. When we say undermining, according to Mariam, to make someone or something weaker or less, dapat dili siya himuol without undermining. Dili siya i-weak, no? Dili siya i-less effective, usually in a secret or gradual way. Alright? Without undermining the integrity and stability of the human natural system. In other words, ang kaning undermining is to damage, to weaken, to destroy, or compromise. Yeah, that's it. Now, sustainable development is more focused on economic development, social development, and environmental protection for future generations. The term sustainability should be viewed as the humanity's target goal of human ecosystems equilibrium, while the sustainable development refers to the holistic approach and temporal processes that lead to us to the end point of sustainability. Alright, so let us first differentiate this word sustainability and stability. If you know this, let's kanang find out together more clearly about these two words. Alright, so sustainability versus stability. Okay, what have you understand aning nilang duha? So sustainability is the utilization of resources without compromising the other of the future generations. No, ako na siyang gibalik-balik ka ganiha pa. And for us to understand it more clearly pa jud, now let me read this. Sustainability is often thought of as a long-term goal. Long-term siya, while sustainable development refers to the many processes and pathways to achieve it. So, bali, ang sustainable development is ngita silang mga paagi para ma-achieve na nga goal, no? Or sustainability is the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level for a long span of time ba kanang ma-preserve siya. So, ingon ana. While stability is a way to characterize a system behavior and is quite well bounded to certain method in dynamic system analysis. So, according sa Merriam-Webster, stability is the quality of being unchanging. Kanang dili siya ma-change, di siya changeable ba, kanang steady nga na gani. Stability is often used to describe buildings or structures that won't collapse or fall down. Yung ano siya ka-firm, no? Stable kayo siya. The state of being stable. So yeah, that's it. That's the meaning of stability and sustainability. Now let us go further. But before that, sustainable development have also goals. No, in September 2015, the United Nations General Assembly formally adopted the Universal Integrated and Transformative 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is a set of sustainable development goals. So there are set of goals that they want to attain or to achieve, no? And we call this SDGs, or a set of sustainable development goals. These goals, or the goals, are to be implemented and achieve in every country from year 2016 to 2030. And we all know that we are already now in 2023. So apil ang kaninga tuig, no? Effective ni siya since 2016, gi-implement ni siya. And then until now, ongoing gihapon ni siya nga goal, no, nga dapat sundon sa matag usa. Okay, so the first example of sustainable development goals is this one. Okay, on the screen, sustainable environment. So mo na siya ang una. It concerns the natural environment and how it endures and remains diverse and productive. It also requires society to design activities to meet human needs while preserving the life support systems of the planet. In short, usa ni siya sa mga concern sa ato ang mga leaders, no, especially sa sa UN. Usa ni sila ilang mga nasabutan na mitingan nga dapat i-conserve ni siya, or like i-preserve ni siya, no, at i-help ang ato ang environment, labi na nga diha ta nagkuha sa ato ang mga basic ng mga needs, no, kanang mga pananom, no, mga pagkaon, fruits and vegetables, labi na gid sa rice, di ba? So mo nang kinahanglan siya nga i-preserve. Kay nga naman usahay kung dili man gud knowledgeable ang usa ka tawo, labi na gid kaning mga farmers, mag-farming, mo gamit og mga medicines nga makadaot sa yuta, naadyoy tendency nga dili na mahimong good ang land niya, di na siya matamnan. So kailangan sad mahimong wise aning dapita, dapat ma-preserve gihapon ang atong mga natural resources, which is ang atong environment. Alright, so next one we have the sustainable agriculture. I know that all of you here know already what is agriculture, and it is very kanang familiar jud kaayo, no, kay naagid taw ni siya sa mga bukid-bukid, no, mananom og humay, mais, mga pananom, mga gulay, and it consists of environment-friendly methods of farming that allow the production of crops of livestock without damage to human or natural systems. It also involves agriculture methods that enhance a quality environment for humans to thrive. So, ako yung basahon, no? Sustainable agriculture consists of environment-friendly methods of farming that allow the production of crops or livestock without damage to human or natural system. It involves presenting adverse effects to soil, water, biodiversity, surrounding or downstream resources, as well as to those working or living on the farm or in neighboring areas. It involves agricultural methods that do not undermine the environment. So dili gihapon dapat kung mananom man gani, dili gyud gihapon ma-destroy ang atong environment, no? Friendly siya nga pagkapananom, no? Smart farming technologies, kay di sad ka dapat magpataka og gamit og mga technologies nga mga makina, no, nga mo cultivate lang sa land niya. Wata kay bawo makadaot day ang katong ang medisina nga gigamit, or ang fuel, ang kanang ngay something nga epekto sa land ba. So dapat mahimutang smart enough anang dapita that in order nga enhance the quality environment for humans to thrive, and reclaiming and transforming deserts into farmlands. Alright? So, dako sa gid gihapon kayong epekto if ever magani dili mamao ba or like dili knowledgeable ang farmers to plant niya, mogamit lang bisag unsa nga medicine para tambok ang tanom, and then nakadaot day siya sa land at the same time makaamong siya ba mahugawan ang water kay siyempre need bayag water ang kanang yuta para mas tambok ang tanom. Alright, so mo na siya usa sa mga goal nila nga kailangan nilang i-preserve. Dili lang nila no kita pod. So that is one of the example, sustainable agriculture. Next we have the sustainable development on environmental economies. So, unsa man ni siya? So, solutions need to be found so that the economies of the world can continue to grow, but not at the expense of the public good. Okay, what do you mean by that? The total environment includes not just the biosphere of the earth, no? Which are the air, water, but also human interactions with these things. So appeal the aita no our interactions no with these things, with water or air, anything atong makita sa environment, and what humans have created as their surroundings. So dako kay ni siya epekto pod sa environment ang kani atong mga giunsa ni nato sila pag-use no o giunsa ni nato pag-interact no ang kaning mga natural resources. As countries around the world continue to advance economically, yes, we need jud nga mas mo level up ang atong economy, no? They put a strain on the ability of the natural environment to absorb the high level of pollutants that are created as part of this economic growth. No, so nagkataas pud ang level sa economic nato, nagkataas pud ang pollutants. It's because they will use different kinds of especially technologies, may mga machineries, mga factories that could pollute our air, the land, and everywhere, even humans no maka-create siya og damage sa health nato. So bantayanan gud gihapon ni siya kaya naman kita raman gihapon ang mag-antos. So therefore, solutions need to be found so that the economies of the world can continue to grow. Walay sayop nga mag-aim ta nga mas mutaas ang ato ang economy, right? But we should also kanang be careful in nga ato sa hunahunahon ba unsay epekto ani nila. So we have to find ways nga mutaas ang levels atong economy nga dili sa siya makaapekto sa ato ang environment, alright? So, but not at the expense of the public good. Ako na nang gibalik ganina. In the world of economics, the amount of environmental quality must be considered as limited in supply and therefore is treated as a scarce resource. So, scarce resource is, of course, when demand for a natural resource is greater than the available supply. Mas taas ang demand kaysa sa stock. Mas taas ang demand kaysa sa ato ang supply. So, ingana ang ato ang natural environment. Dapat i-serve siya as limited siya nga kanang butang, dili siya unlimited. Kailangan gihapon siya care, kailangan gihapon siya i-preserve, alagaan. Ang gibalik-balik ra nako na leading to decline in stock of available resource. So, that's what we call scarce resource. So, dapat daw atong iunaw-naon nga ang natural environment must be considered as limited ra gyud siya. This is a resource to be protected, and therefore one common way to analyze possible outcomes of policy decisions on scarce resource is to do a cost-benefit analysis. So usa na siya sa mga gibuhat nila karon para ma-preserve gihapon ang ato ang environment. Alright, so here we have sustainable energy. Unsa man ni sila? No? Sustainable energy is clean and can be used over a long period of time. No? Unlike fossils, fuels, and biofuels that provide the bulk of the world's energy, renewable energy comes like hydroelectric. Unsa may hydroelectric kanang parehas ani sa slide na ay water no nga as in kusog kay na siya nga water nga maka-create siya og electricity. And if naka familiar mo atong Mariana Trench, nga maka-create siya og electricity. So mo siya ang usa sa mga gikuhaan og, if I am not kanang mistaken ha, usa sa gikuhaan og electricity is kaning water gyud nga, as in paspas kayang yang tagak sa tubig nga. Solar, okay, very familiar kayo ni kay makita ni nato sa streets. And wind energy produce far less pollution. So kani sila gamay ra gid kaayo ang ma-produce nila nga kanang pollution, kay natural man gud ni sila, no? Ang solar, we only need the heat of the sun, no? Hydroelectric is water lang, ang energy sa water. And also wind nga kanang mga magtuyok gani asa na nga lugar nga dagko kayo more electric fan, no? Naka-create din na siya og energy. And solar energy is commonly used on public parking matters, street lights, and roof of the buildings. Kasagaran gani mga dato karon kay as in ilang roof na puno na jud og solar. Ano man, dako kay ilang bayranan kung adto sila sa kanang kuryente gyud nga bayad-bayad, no? Nagamit na lang sila og solar do. Mahal kay ang solar, pero at the end of the day ba, worth it gihapon kayo siya, kay dako kay siya save sa, especially gid sa atong environment, no? Natural ra nga light or energy ang ilang nakuha. So naka-help na yun noon sila sa environment. And wind power has expanded quickly, and its share of worldwide electricity usage at the end of 2014 was 3.1%. No? So kani siya, usa sa ni siya sa kailangan nga ihatagan og pagtagad sa mga tao. Next, we have sustainable technology. So technology as people-centered, according to Schumacher etc. I don't know. And OSAT proposed new model of enabling innovation for sustainable development. Okay, OSAT naadiri sa picture and the internet. Alright? So we all know nga where technology are kanang very helpful good sa ato ang, especially sa atong generation, paspas na kaayo, dali kayo ta maka-communicate, and dali kayo mabuhat na to ang ubang mga butang is in a short span of time na lang ba. So gamit kayo siya. So one of the core concepts in sustainable development is that technology can be used to assist people meet their developmental needs. Yes, and it is very true. Technology to meet this sustainable development needs is often referred as appropriate technology. No, not appropriate technology, which is an ideological movement, and its manifestations originally articulated as intermediate technology by the economist E.F. Schumacher in his influential work. Now, small is beautiful, according to him, and now covers a wide range of technologies. Both Schumacher and many modern-day proponents of appropriate technology also emphasize the technology as people-centered principles. People-centered. Today, appropriate technology is often developed using open source principles, which have led to open source appropriate technology, and thus many of the plans of the technology can be freely found on the internet. O bitaw, mas paspas na lang kayo, no? One click na lang ka, dali kay kakaibaw sa mga information. Open source siya. Even gani ang mga answer, no? Click na lang ka sa Google, no? Pangita na lang ka sa answer. Naara gid ang mga source in town. So mas mapadali jud ang kinabuhi tungod sa technology, but naasad gid gihapon siya mga dapat i-consider. Dapat ka mao kaon sa paggamit, dili ka magpatakap. OSAT has been proposed as a new model of enabling innovation for sustainable development. Yes, that's correct. So yeah, that is sustainable technology. Let's have sustainable transport. It is very common jud nato for us as students sad, no, kay sige gid in taon tag biyahe-biyahe. O kani modern jeepney, familiar kay ni nato gas taxes. Wala man tingali kay sakyanan para makabayad ka gas taxes, pero noon kay ni sa ato ang parents, familiar kay sila ani in town, nagbayad gyud in town na sila. Kanang atong pagbayad ng fuels, no? Naanay taxes na, dala na sa taxes mo, nang mahal kayo musaka ang mga kuan gasolina. So it help create jobs, no? It improve commuter safety. Kita mga commuter kay walay mga sakyanan, no? Sana all sa mga naisakyanan. Make access to employment and social opportunities. So transportation is a large contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. Na siya advantage, nasa siya disadvantage. Madali tag transportation is mas madali ta og kanang makalakaw tag asa-asa no. Asa ta mapadong sa piting layua makaabot ra dayon ta tungod sa transportation ng mga gipang himo na karon ng mga sakyanan, mga motor, no? Nya but naa siya disadvantage kay usa siya sa contributor sa greenhouse gas emissions sa babaw and naa siya dako kayo nga epekto sa ato ang kalibutan kay basta it is said that 1/3 of all gases produced are due to transportation. 1/3 pitindako motorized transport also releases exhaust fumes that contain particulate matter, which is hazardous to human health and a contributor to climate change. No, mo nang di na ta mag-wonder nga nung natay climate change no, nagkahugaw na gyud ang world tungod sa mga pollution, air pollution and very hazardous sa human health. Alright, no wonder that's why we have to wear mask gyud all the time po asa tapadong kay masigi jud kahanggap og mga lain-lain nga aso no or mga kanang dangers kaayo nga aso. So sustainable transport has many social and economic benefits that can accelerate local sustainable development. Alright, so mao ni siya na siya dako kayo nga advantage, makahatag siya work, maka-improve siya sa ato ang businesses may na but nagyud gihapon siya disadvantage. So mao na siya also sa mga gihatagan og concern sa nasud ang kaning transportation. So it is very important nga we are very kanang careful ba or kanang kaybawta nga unsay kanang epekto dayan ni. So naadjay uban nga lugar nga dili sila mo gamit og sakyanan nga dili pwede makasud ang sakyanan aning dapita kay dapat magbike lang, maglakaw lang nya. I thought sa una is kanang chuy-chuy na siya, kanang cute tanawon ba nga lakaw-lakawon jud ka kakapoy or maglakaw, pero kuan di ay gusto ra lang di nila i-preserve. It's a way nga maka-help ka sa ato ang environment nga ma-lessen ang pollution labi na gid sa air pollution. So that's it. So I'll be given the floor to the next reporter.
The next part under the sustainable development on environmental economies is what we call this the corporate sustainability. So corporate sustainability is a firm's efficient use of natural capital, usually calculated as the economic value added by a firm in relation to its aggregated ecological impact. So to talk more about corporate sustainability, di lang kay ta mobasa dira sa definition nga naa diha. Another meaning or something like pasabot sa corporate sustainability is that it is an approach, no? Because we're talking about towards sustainable development. We're talking about towards environmental economy. So this is related to environment. So when you're having a corporation, you're doing a business, so you must have some approach, no, in order for it to stay longer, no. Corporate sustainability is an approach aiming to create long-term stakeholder stakeholder value, long-term pang matagalan through the implementation of a business strategy. Dapat nagit kay mga business strategy. Of course, in business and corporation and industries natin mga industrial engineers, they are the one who work for it. Mo ni trabaho nila, they plan, they research unsay mga pamaagi para ang ilahang mga waste product gikan sa ilang mga factories dili makaunsa sa environment. Okay, in business you must have to implement some strategy that focus on the ethical, nagiging mga ethical rules and standards nga sundon, no, usually mga regulations that are should be followed by the for example, by the industry or corporation, social, environment, cultural and economic dimensions of doing business. So may mga example when it comes to corporate sustainability. Of course, because we're talking about sustainable development for environmental economies. So, and the best example for it is that modify, for example, you are a businessman or a businesswoman, and nakay company or nakay corporation, nakay industry, buhatanan baron og kanang sardinas, for example lang sardinas ha. So your engineers, imong ko na ng mga engineers nga mga ways or pamagi. So your engineers, for example, industrial engineers will modify production process to emit less waste or emissions. Dili kanang mga magbuhat sila og mga plano or mga strategy nga dili kayo kanang makadaot or kanang ang mga aso nga mong gawa sa ilang factory dili makaunsa. So nagitay nagibasihan na sila is dapat nga sundon nga kanang mo'y planuhan pag-ayo, no? Ilang tanawon pag-ayo kung dili ba makadaot sa environment, sa society, sa pa especially sa ilang image, sa ilang business, no? Then the next one is sustainable income. So natay mga sa una we have Christian social teaching nga nag-ingon nga ang mga dato ra jud ang makatabang sa mga pobre. Ang mga dato ra gyud mo ay makatunol og pagkaon sa mga pobre, maoy mohungit sa mga pobre. But now because of sustainable development, pwede ra nga jud nga ang mga pobre mangitag paagi nga ilaha nga makakaon sila. How? So of course, the rich, katong mga stronger, katong mga naay mga kaya, they will be the one, not directly they are going to give food or money, but of course, ang mga or for example, ang pobre mo hatag og service so that ilisan siya og kwarta or salary or sweldo, and that will be sustained, no? Maka-sustain in their living. So the stronger helps the weaker. If sustainable development and if ang kwan lang gid, no, if there will be a balance, like di lang kay ang mga dato mo samot ka dato, no, but also maka-feel pud unta ang pobre og kaharuhay due to the sustainable development because of the kwan sa atong contemporary world, no, kay we have globalization naman. So we have an exchange and have a lot or daghan na kay mga trabaho nga kanang pwede ma-applyan. Then sustainable development reduce poverty through financial, environmental, and social needs. So the next one is sustainable architecture. So new classical architecture promote a sustainable approach towards construction that appreciate and develop smart growth architectural tradition and classical design. So what does it mean? Because we're talking about sustainable development on environmental economies. So nanatay mga kanang mga sustainable architectural design nga that seek to minimize the negative environmental impact of buildings through mga improved efficiency and moderation in the use of materials, energy, development space, and the ecosystem at large. So kabantay mo sa Singapore, kung mo sa Nas Daily, gikuan gid dito sa Singapore, as in limpyo kay ang Singapore, ilang syudad na puno sa mga kahoy, as in limpyo kayo, and nasa lay mga buildings nga na ay ang mga bintana bitaw is daghan kay mga hydrohose plants kanang motubo sa tubig. So inana architectural design nila is as in gibutangan nag mga tanom-tanom, dili bitaw kay puro bildura, napoy mga tanom-tanom, inana ba mga mga architectural design nga kanang makatabang sad sa environment. So that is the kung magpatukod gani, mag-design gani, dapat it should be sustainable. It can help the environment, no? Not just the economy but the environment also.
Good day everyone, my name is P. Swako, and now I will going to discuss with you about the sustainable politics.
So what is sustainable politics? It develop a political policy framework in the areas of international trade and investment, economic policy, climate change and energy, measurement and assessment, natural resource management, and the role of communication technologies in sustainable development. It is also a study concluded that social indicators and therefore sustainable development indicators are scientific constructs whose principal objective is to inform public policy making. The International Institute for Sustainable Development has similarly developed a political policy framework linked to a sustainable index for establishing measurable entities and metrics. The framework consists of 6 core areas. First is the international trade and investment. It examines the causes and consequences of trade between and among nations and regions. It considers how transportation costs, tariffs, and other factors nga maka-effect sa geographic specialization and commercial flows. The second is the economic policy, which it covers a wide range of measures which governments use to manage their economy. This includes monetary policy, money supply and demand, taxation, budget, job creation, and etc. The third one is the climate change and energy, which it directly affects fuel supply, energy production, as well as the physical resilience of current and future energy infrastructure. And then the measurement of assessment. It gives us data needed for assessment and evaluation. The fifth one is the natural resource management, which it refers to the utilization of natural resources such as land, water, air, minerals, forests, fisheries, and etc. And the last one is the role of communication technologies in sustainable development. It is the role of technology in sustainable development is helping businesses with net zero and other environmental, social, and governance goals. And now we have the 7 subdomains of the domain of politics. We have the first one. It is the organization and governance. It is a holistic approach encompassing the processes, standards, rules, and practices an organization follows. It guides operation and administration, ethics, risk management, compliance, and more. And then the second one is the law and justice. Justice is the ethical, philosophical idea that people are to be treated impartially, fairly, properly, and reasonably by the law and by arbiters of the law, that laws are to ensure that no harm befalls other, and that where harm is alleged, a remedial action is taken. And then the communication and GRETEC, which it provides an international forum for critical research in communication, media, and cultural studies. And then we have the representation and negotiation. So representation is the act or action of representing or the state of being represented. And it is the action or fact of one person standing for another, so as to have the rights and obligations of the person represented. For example, is kanang if a lawyer provides legal representation sa kanang sa iyang client. And then negotiation is it refers to a strategic discussion that resolves an issue in a way that both parties find acceptable. In a negotiation, each party tries to persuade the other to agree with their point of view. Negotiations involve some give and take, which means one party will always come out on top of the negotiation. And then we have the security and accord. Accord Group of companies is a professionally managed group currently with the three verticals in security, faculties, and infrastructure. Accord Security and Allied Services started with a humble beginning. 6 years ago is now amongst the fastest growing solutions providers in India. And then we have the Dialogue and Reconciliation. It is the Center for Dialogue and Reconciliation, or the CDR, aims to be a catalyst for peace in South Asia. It strives to do this through a process of dialogue and discourse, achieving peaceful settlements of conflicts with justice and equality. And then the last one is the Ethics and Accountability. Ethics help officials make better decisions in the public interest and help people evaluate the decisions taken on their behalf by public officials are openly answerable for the decisions they are taking on behalf of the public. And then we have the sustainable culture, which it developing a solid cultural policy and advocating a cultural dimensions in all public policies. And it integrates multidisciplinary capacities and interprets cultural diversity as a key element of a new strategy for sustainable development. Working with a different emphasis, some researchers and institutions have pointed out that a fourth dimension should be added to the dimensions of sustainable development, since the triple bottom line dimensions of economic, environmental, and social do not seem to be enough to reflect the complexity of contemporary society. And then the next one is we have the sustainable natural capital. The natural capital cannot necessarily be substituted by economic capital by Herman Daly. Economic, social, and natural capital may be non-substitutable and whose consumption might be irreversible. So the sustainable development debate is based on the assumption that societies need to manage three types of capital, which is the economic, social, and natural, which may be non-substitutable and whose consumption might be irreversible. So, leading ecological economist and steady-state tourist Herman Daly, for example, points to the fact that natural capital cannot necessarily be substituted by economic capital. While it is possible that we can find ways to replace some natural resources, it is much more unlikely that they will be ever able to replace ecosystem services such as the protection provided by the ozone layer or the climate stabilizing function of the Amazonian forest. In fact, natural capital, social capital, and economic capital are often complementaries. A further obstacle to substitutability lies also in the multi-functionality of many natural resources. Then we have the business as usual. So while the benefits of natural or social capital depletion can usually be privatized, the costs are often externalized. So if the degradation of natural and social capital has such important consequence, the question arises, why action is not taken more systematically to alleviate it? So, first, while the benefits of natural or social capital depletion can usually be privatized, the costs are often externalized. So, they are borne not by the party responsible, but by the society in general. Second, as the natural capital is often undervalued by society since we are not fully aware of the real cost of the depletion of natural capital. So information Asymmetry is a third reason, which often the link between cause and effects is obscured, making it difficult for actors to be informed choices. So, Kuhin and Wen close with the realization that contrary to economic theory, many firms are not perfect optimizers. They postulate the firms often do not optimize resources allocation because they are caught a business as usual mentality. And then we have the sustainable education, which a renewed vision of sustainable human and social development that is both equitable and viable. So, education must not be revisited in light of a renewed vision of sustainable human and social development that is both equitable and viable. This vision of sustainability must not take into consideration the social, environmental, and economic dimensions of human development and the new various ways in which these relate to education. An empowering education is one that builds the human resources we need to be productive, to continue to learn, to solve problems, to be creative, and to live together and with nature in peace and harmony. And then we have the sustainable progress, which aim the reconciling the economic and environmental goals of the global community and promote sustainable progress and eliminate inequalities around the world. So the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development was the third international conference on sustainable development, which aimed at reconciling the economic and environmental goals of the global community. An outcome of this conference was the development of the Sustainable Development Goals that aim to promote sustainable progress and eliminate inequalities around the world. However, few nations met the Worldwide Fund for Nature's definition of sustainable development criteria, established in 2006. Although some nations are more developed than others, all nations are constantly developing because each nation struggles with perpetuating disparities, inequalities, and unequal access to fundamental rights and freedoms.
So, after discussing about the sustainable development on environmental economy, so we have also here some models, or what we call the sustainable development models. So what's the purpose of these models that I'm going to present to you? So the purpose of the sustainable development models is to meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet own needs. To supplement that touchstone definition, here are three sustainability models that might help explain what a sustainable society looks like according to Bob Wilhord in 2010. So the first model of sustainable development model is the three legs stool model. So grilito ni siya sa bangko. Ano tanaw ang picture? Bangko, then na ay tulo ka tiil, which is the economic, environment, and society or the social. And of course, they must always be equal balance in order for it to maintain sustainability. So the three legs stool metaphor reinforces the three dimensions that are required for us to enjoy a high quality of life, and shows that society is unstable if one of them is weak or naay usa nga huyang o dili ka kuan kanang compatible, dili siya kuan ba like mubo baron or guba baron ng usa. So the downside of this metaphor also is that the economic, environmental, and social legs look separate and equal. So as what I have said kanina, they should be equal. Dili masad mahimo, di masad ka barog kung ato lang yung tan-aw no, kung ang bangko no, kung ang duha ka tiil ay kasagaran sa bangko kay upat na ginakatil, pero or kung na lang mga stool lang inana the same og design ana, So kung naay usa ang mubo, of course kimpang gid, dili gid siya makabarog. So there must be, kailangan jud nga equal na tanan ang legs, or ang kanang mga legs. It should be equal in order for it to have, in order for have in order to have a sustainability or sustainable development in this world. Okay? So, the next model is the three overlapping circle model. So, the overlapping circle model of sustainability acknowledge the intersection of economic, environmental, and social factors. Depending on our mindset, we resize the circle to show that one factor is more dominant than the other two. For example, I will give you an example ha. Business leaders, mga negosyante, prefer to show the economy, no? Depende sa atong mindset man, pwede man nato padakon sig asa nang dulo, pwede nato padakon ang circle or drawing nato padako. So, business leader prefer to show the economy as the largest circle. Why man? Because mao man duol kay silang dughan. It is the most important to their success and it makes their world go around. So dira gatuyog ilang life, dira ra gid sa business. So mo na ang economy or economics mo mas ako or prefer nga mas dominant para sa ilaha. Then they draw society as the second largest circle because that is where their customers and their important stakeholders live. So, ara na belong. So, mas ilan na i-prioritize. Then, lastly, the environment would then be the smallest because it is the most external to standard business metrics. Like, mura kuan lang ba, like, dili kay siya importante. Mo na nga, ang resulta, if why tarong nga strategy, there will be no corporate sustainability nga buhaton ang mga negosyante. Tungod sa ilang mga negosyo nga gipangpatukod, sa tanan nilang mga business nga gipatukod, there's a possibility kita mag-suffer sa consequence. No? Ang environment nga atong gipuy-an maoy madaot pag-ayo. Kita may mag-suffer, kitang mga pobre wa patay kwarta, no? Kita pay mas naapektuhan pag-ayo tungod sa ilang gipang buhat. Kay mas wala man nila tagai kaayo og importance ang environment, mas gipili nila nga makakwarta sila nga padaghanon may ilang kwarta, no? Economy ang importante sa ilaha, wa kay sila ni focus pag ay sa environment. So that's it, that's the second model, the three overlapping circle model. So the last model is the three nested dependencies model. So this model reflects codependent reality. So the three overlapping circles imply the economy can exist without the environment. The three nested dependencies recognize the economy is a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment. So they not only coexist but interact. So to add another metaphor, the economy is the tail and society is the dog, not vice versa. Since the economy is like a wholly owned subsidiary of the society, we decide what economic model to use. So pwede ta maka-decide unsang model atong model gamiton. So we also have the ability to change our existing economic model in the quest to better our quality of life. And to be fair, the society-economy relationship is symbiotic. Okay. On the other hand, as part of the towards sustainable world, we will also going to talk about the global challenges in food security. So malnutrition, including over and undernutrition and micronutrient deficiencies, is the top contributor to global disease burden. Despite bisan og kanang we have an improved food access at all income levels, diet quality is declining lang gihapon. It's a challenge, not only in local but in global context. It's really a challenge, no? Kaya ang mga pagkaon ron, mga processed food, bisan pagkwartahan ka muna, the quality of the food you are been eating is makaapekto sa imuha, so sa imong diet. So bisan og kwartahan ka, like lami kay kag pagkaon pero di man sad siya kanang nutritious ba, dili siya makatabang bitaw, like mas makakuanon siya makadugang lang siya og kanang mga different kind of diseases. So notwithstanding recent food production increase, nutritious food remain unaffordable for many. Though there's a lot of production, no, naatay kanang daghan tang pagkaon, daghan kayong gipang tanom ang mga farmers, at ang resulta na dalabay ra sad, no, kay mo sa nay nakakuan sad sa kuan kay kanang sa, for example, talking about the onions or kanang Bombay bitaw. So na trending ba na nga daghan kaayong Bombay na kuan nasa merkado, wala nabaligya kay sobra ra ka mahal, no, wala na maka-afford sa kamahal, na natugkan na mga ugat na imalabay ra sad na. Imbis nga kuan bitaw dapat imbis nga magamit to para makaon pa to, wala na lang, sayang, no. Kay mao na tay mga mag-agi pa man og mga custom ang kanang mga pagkaon or kanang mga tinda, mag-agi pa nag-custom kung may bawon gyud na nga kanang kuan, like sa tawag ana illegal ang pag-import or pag-export sa mga products mo na dili dayon mo na nga mabara or dili bitaw ma-proceed sa kuan sa baligyaanan. Ang uban sad mo na ang pag-increase inflation, so daghan kig problema as in. So it's really a big challenge, a global challenge in food security. Without policy changes, managing na obesity will increase in all countries and reach 3.28 million by 2030, increasing non-communicable diseases problems and health crisis. So because we talks about global challenges in food security, of course, kung unsa ka kuan ang pagkaon, secure, no, wala ba na yung kanang contaminations, na dapat mag-agi gid na siya og mga testing, no, muna approved by the Food and Drug Administration. So we have that, no, mga agency nga nagkuan na about sa mga pagkaon. Sila mo study ana before na ipagamit or before na ipakaon. So daghan ang na under aning global challenges in food security. So the next one is that sustainable agriculture is the foundation of food security and has the potential to secure livelihoods. Investing in smallholder farmers is an important way to increase food security and nutrition for the poorest, as well as food production for local and global markets. So para na mga farmers, so dapat ang especially the government should give a greater support for them, no, kay dira man dapat tutukan maayo kay sila mo yung tanom, sila mo yung buhi, no, mga livestock, sila mga harvest, so dira mo tutukan maayo when it comes to food security nga dapat kana sila is kana nga mga gilang gipang harvest is dili makadaot, so dapat importante gina nga i-secure gina daan. So dapat ang government jud ang mas dako naay dako nga rule when it comes to food security. So that's why we have Department of Agriculture. On the other hand, we have also when it comes to sa mga nagbuhi og mga livestock, mga poultry, so kung nay mga bag-o nga sakit sa baboy, sakit sa manok, ipaibaw ginadaan nga ban ang mga kuan diri dapita kay mao ni dako or increase ang number of sa pranang sa tawag anang sakit sa baboy, kalimot ko, but na siya ikuan ngan. And then we have also swine fever, and we have also sa mga manok, we have also the kanang sakit sa mga manok, no, kung ana gani the government will kuan din na sila mo call din na sila anang information nga mao ni ana. So that is a part of food security, and that is very important. Kay ato abin ang kaunon, ato abin ng kuanon paliton. So kuyaw, no, maka-create na sa dugbagong virus, imbako lang. So very important gid in order to have a sustainable development. When it comes to sustainable development or talking about sustainability, siguroon gid ang food security. So the next is better use of agricultural biodiversity can contribute to more nutritious diet, enhanced livelihood for farming communities, and more resilient and sustainable farming system. So muna, i-apply na itong mga nagkalain nga mga nahibaw-an about sa agriculture, mga new research, no, nga ilang nahibaw-an or nga pwedeng ma-apply. So nga maka-contribute pod sa atong diet, no? Like pwede man gud maka-create og mga rice nga more nutritious, like depende gyud na gyud sa nila. So nanas lagi gipang add ana nga mga kuan nga indot ang pagtubo, nga indot sad ang outcome, indot sad ang kuan resulta. So mo na agricultural biodiversity. So in order to have a resilient and sustainable farming system, that is a part of food security. That is very important jud. So next is Global Food Security Index. So it is a universal benchmarking tool on food security. Mao na gisundan nga tool sa tanang countries when it comes to food security. It examine na tan-awon ang ilang mga core issues of food affordability, availability, quality, and safety, as well as natural resources and resilience in 113 countries. So mga countries kanang naapila ng 113 countries, they apply benchmarking tool when it comes to food security, when it comes to examining the core issues of food. Usually ang perming mag-una sa ranking, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, o yun ang kasagaran mga Asian countries. Kita kasagaran na narata sa ika-60 nga kuan number, no? When it comes to, but maglailain siya, like sa affordability, food affordability naguna ang Singapore, and the next is sa food availability, quality, and safety naguna ang Malaysia na giranking na siya, no? Ranking ay na sa when it comes to Global Food Security Index. So next, if we have sustainable, kung naatay sustainable development model na po gitawag og Global Food Security Model. Og kaning nga model is nag-inusara ni siya, gitawag ni siya MINC. It is the process based crop modeling for global food security. Mao na gisundan sa tanang nasod when it comes to food security. Mao na process nga ilang gisundan. It is a broad discussion of interest to policymakers. Silbi mo na sila gamitin na sila diha, no? Kanang about sa they talk about food security, which has an interest to policymaker and manager concerning how global scale crop modeling can be used, its strengths and weaknesses, how to think about the issues, and where it sits in the wider context of agricultural and policy research. So na diha sa MINC nakakuantanan. So bi mo na siya kuan murag ilan na siyang standard nga sundanan model, mao ni siya ani no, when it comes to crisis situation, talking about related to food security, what's their plan ana. So na diha nakaplano na tanan. So that would be all. Thank you for listening.